it's way bigger than what I was making in the 401k. So
For sure.
when I realized that, I'm like, this is not rocket science. And so I'm like, yep, I'll definitely just take the loan and play that game because it's a hard asset. I can control the rents. I can control more stuff. Whereas the 401k, I don't have any control over that, right? So.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Passive Road to Retirement podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Jarrett. Today, we are joined by Bernadeau Charles. Bernadeau lives in Orlando with his wife, Laura, and daughter, Amelia. He started investing in real estate in 2009, and that short time frame has been involved in one syndication of 2 RV parks and has acquired a few small multifamilies. He started a meetup in Orlando in 2007 that focuses on helping others achieve their real estate goals. His sole purpose for investing in multifamily real estate is to buy back his time so he can spend it with his family, and he wants to help others do the same. Bernadeau, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you, Andrew. It's good to be here. I got to correct you, though. It's 2019, not 09. That's a long time frame. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, man, I feel old right now.
Right. That's funny. Yeah, that sounds much better.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, great to have you on. And why don't you give everybody kind of a background on yourself?
Yeah, of course. So let's see. By myself, I grew up. I'm from the Caribbean. I'm from Haiti. So, growing up, I was told, man, go to school. Here's your book. Here's your pencil. Get good grades. Get A's and B's, and you're gonna be just fine. You're gonna make it. You're gonna be a superstar. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I did. I went to school. I did all my classes. I passed all my stuff. Went to high school. Did great. Good GPA. Got to college. Became an engineer. And so I was just going through the path, right? And so I got my degree in 2013. I started working for the Air Force as an engineer full time, and I thought I arrived. I mean, I did it all. I was told to do all these things. Got the degree. I got a full-time career job, and I'm sitting back. I made it.
Right, exactly.
So that was the plan. So this is awesome. So I started working, and a year later, I got brand new sports car. I was excited because I had earned the car, right? I earned it.
Right.
So brand new Camaro, stick shift, V8. So I was on a high, man. And about a year later, I got into a car accident and I was totaled. And it was probably the best thing that happened to me because that event woke me up from just the rat race, just living the life, just thinking I had made it, right? And so that kind of woke me up from, hey, what are you doing with your life, right? Like you have a nice job, but you live in paycheck to paycheck. You're barely making ends meet.
Yeah,
it doesn't add up, right? And so,
did insurance cover the car or no?
Yeah, so the insurance covered the car. Funny enough, the car was worth less a year later than I had bought it. So,
surprising, right?
But thankfully, yes, the insurance just covered the car. So I had a blank slate. I had a blank slate. And actually, at the scene of the accident, the cop said, "Hey, man, don't worry about it. You're fine. Just go back to the dealership and get you a different color." and in that time frame, I'm like, "Oh yeah, I can just go get another color," But I went a different route. I said, you know what? I need to change my mindset. And having a car is not a bad thing, but it's just how I did it. I was just working for it, paying a high car payment every month. And so I dove into podcasts, books, meetups, and then from then on, I jumped in and bought my first property in 2019. And so here I am. That's my story.
That's awesome. So now you're more on the buy assets that pay for that liability instead of going out to get a paycheck to pay for it, right?
Exactly. So eventually I'm going to get the Camaro back, right? But now I don't want to pay for it with my time.
Exactly.
I want my assets to pay for it. And so at the time, I didn't know anything about assets, so going backwards.
That's right. What were some of the books you read that kind of shifted your mindset? Anything particular stand out?
So the first book that I read, I want to say it was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
It's a great book.
And from then on, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that was like, man, what was this when I was 18, 19, you know, like,
Right.
so I read that and I just pretty much just blew my mind and I just dove right in, kept going. So
That's awesome. So now, how has it been investing with a full-time job?
it's been, that's a good question. It's been interesting, right? Because, you know, I'm always working. So I have a full-time job and after I get off work, I'm working at home, you know, I'm looking at deals. Or if I
Yeah.
have calls with my tenants, I'm calling them. And so it's a lot of work, but I enjoy the work after work more than my job because
Mhm.
I know it's buying me time eventually, right? I'm putting in the
Right.
work now so I can enjoy it later. And
Exactly.
so it excites me. And so it's a lot of work, but because I enjoy it, it's not really work for me per se, right? So I
Mhm.
enjoy self managing, I enjoy looking at deals, underwriting deals, and buying properties. And so it's fun for me. And so it's not really um, a lot of stress on my time, you know, per se.
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome. Building that dream, for the future, right? And
right.
it's everything you do is 100% yours versus working for somebody else.
Exactly. Yep.
Mhm. So now you did a RV syndication deal. There's two different parks, it sounds like, in one deal.
Yeah. So the story with that is, so I started a meetup, right? I got so into this, I'm like, man, I need to go to a meetup. And so, you know, I went to my local RIA here in Orlando, and they're phenomenal. They're awesome.
Hmm.
But it was too big for me. It was massive, a lot of people. I needed something intimate and more informal.
Yeah.
And so I just said, hey, let me start a meetup. And
Hmm.
sure enough, that's what I did. I put out a post on a forum and people responded. I kept getting emails and phone calls. I'm like, okay, there's something there. So let's
Yeah.
go. And so I got that going. And funny enough, at the meetups when it started, man, I knew nothing. So I'm there at the meetups. People are burn method, cash flow, cash on
Right.
cash. And I'm the host. I'm just like, oh, I'm writing these terms down. How am I the host? And I know none of these terms. And so
Right.
I just began to leverage those people who are coming.
Hmm.
And I learned just from them, just listening to them talk. So at that meetup, I met someone who was buying an RV park or two RV parks in the syndication. And so he was looking for people to invest in it.
Hmm.
And to be honest, at the time, I did not know how to underwrite deals. So I didn't know if it was a good deal or not. I just, I trusted this individual because
Hmm.
over time we've built that connection. And
Right.
so he allowed me to be passive in the deal, invested in the deal. And I get a check in the mail every quarter. It's
Hmm.
not a lot, but I value that check a lot more than
Right.
my W-2 paycheck, and that's a lot more money, right?
Yeah.
But because
Right.
I don't have to clock in for it, I'm like, I like this, right? And so yeah, it's 45 doors down in Lake Okeechobee. And I
Okay.
believe it's 8% preferred return for the investors.
Hmm.
And they're going to do a refi in 3 to 5 years. So I think this year we're looking to either refi or do an exchange into a bigger property. And
Oh,
so
nice.
that's where we are right now. Okay.
Is it going to be another RV park or more like a multifamily deal, or what are you thinking?
So we're looking to multifamily, which I'm glad because that's where I'm at now in that space. And so we're
Yeah.
looking for another apartments to be able to leverage that into that one. So yeah.
Okay. And your meetup got pretty big, didn't it?
So the meetup definitely grew. It grew at
Hmm.
one point. I mean, right now we're at 120 people
Yeah.
in our group,
Hmm.
but the actual meeting spaces, it goes up and down, right? So at one point I might have 20 people here or less, right? But the group chat is so big that people are just talking all day long and they're
Yeah.
asking questions, they're sharing connection. And so that's why I love it so much. It's more informal, it's more of a family at this point, right? And
Hmm.
so
Right.
yeah, we've been together for a while. People have grown from buying their first deal to buying two or three more, doing JVs together. So it's been awesome, man. Yeah.
That's awesome. And I got to throw it out there that we're opening up one as well. You, me, and two other guys from MultiFamily Masters here in February. Looking
That's
forward to
right.
it.
Yeah. You're the first one here in Orlando, February, I
Mhm.
believe 18th is the date. And so,
17th or 18th, I think it is.
yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
So if you're interested, let me know or let Andrew know and just come by and network because I believe, honestly, since I started in this business, that's been the most important thing that I've realized has helped me is just talking
Yeah.
to people, just network. It's not the money. It's
Exactly.
just, hey, my name is so and so. What do you do? How can I help you? Or vice versa, right? So it's that simple. Yeah.
Your network is your net worth. That's what they always say, and I found that to be 100% true.
Agreed. Agreed.
Now, your other multifamily deals you've done on your own. Maybe you can give us a little background on those. You know, how you raise the capital, what kind of lending terms you got. It sounds like you're doing your own property management. So how that's been as well.
Yeah, so far everything's been in-house, just me and my wife. The first deal was a single family home out on the coast in Palm Bay. And so that one we just saved up for it over time and used that to be able to buy it. Just got regular bank loan. Actually, I bought that one as a vacation home, which I was able to kind of get better terms on the down payment and interest. But the next one, I actually leveraged my 401k, which was very interesting. So as you guys know, I've been working for a couple of years now. So I had enough money saved up in my 401k to where I'm like, well, can I use this money to buy a property, right? And so I had a few options. I could have just cashed it out and pay a fee, but I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
Or I can get a loan on it and then just pay it back over time. And so when I realized I could do that, I was able to just take out a loan to use as a down payment on a duplex, right? And then my W-2 paycheck is paying for it, paying it back to my own account. And so
nice.
It was a win-win, right? So I'm making higher interest return on the duplex, so it works out, right? So
what was the terms of that loan on your 401k? You remember?
So I believe it was 3 to 4%. And it's a 5-year payment back term, right? So in 5 years, it's all paid off, right? And so it comes before I even get paid on my paycheck. So I'm like, all right, I'm thinking about the future, right? So I'm thinking in 3 to 5 years, I won't be there anymore anyway. So now I have that money again to roll it over into a sort of 401k or cash it out at that point and use that.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And I'm sure your spread is much bigger on the cash flow, not to mention the appreciation you're probably making right now.
It's way bigger than what I was making in the 401k.
For sure.
When I realized that, I'm like, this is not rocket science. And so I'm like, yep, I'll definitely just take the loan and play that game because it's a hard asset. I can control the rents. I can control more stuff. Whereas the 401k, I don't have any control over that, right? So
now a lot of people probably don't realize they can do that with our 401k. Did your job give you a hard time with that? And how easy was that to actually get set up? What was the process?
It was super easy, just a phone call and spoke to them about what I was trying to do. And it was very simple and very fast. So it was. And the best thing about the 401k is it does not hit your credit, right? So the loan there is not even on my credit at all, right? Nice. So I was able to get more loans down the line for other properties.
Yeah, doesn't throw off your debt to income ratio.
Yep.
Yep. Nice. Now, management wise, how'd you set that up? Do the tenants have your cell phone? Do you tell them you're a manager? How's that work?
And that's another good question, man. So my goal for this year is to, by the end of the year, to somehow not self-manage, right? But that being said, I still can't justify paying a property manager at this point because, something happens, they call me, I just call the handyman, right? It's like, it takes 2 seconds, right? So I'm like, this is not a lot to handle. But yeah, so far I do have systems in place. So like I used to use Cozy, where it collects rent, it does maintenance. And I think now it was bought out by apartments.com.
Oh, okay.
So I use them now, right? So via there, I can do screening, background check, credit check. I do leases there. There's a tab on there for maintenance calls, but they still text me or call me. So I'm trying to train them to say, hey, if something happens, just go online and fill it out and I'll get a phone call from them. But it's human nature. And so, I think my goal is to be able to either use VAs or have an assistant that I can use to kind of do it for me. But it's been pretty simple. It's just it's an issue. They call me and I have a list of my handymans that I use or contractors. So it's not a lot, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah. Worst case, you could give that list to the VA and just have them do it directly.
That's the plan. That's the next goal is to say, hey, if something happens, they call the VA and the VA will just call, hey, X person, go out there and fix this issue. And then it's, that's it. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So now we're just in the end of January 2022. What are your goals for 2022, multifamily wise?
So my goal 2022 multifamily wise is to do my first syndication on the active side, right? So far I've done one on the LP side, and it was good to kind of get in that space, that route, and kind of see how everything works out. And I enjoy getting the checks, but I love the space, man. I want to be active in it. So my first syndication. Last year I did everything wrong. I did everything myself. I was calling brokers, underwriting deals, trying to raise money. And I'm just like, I'm tired. This is a lot for one man to do.
Another full-time job.
And a full-time job and a family at that too, right? So then I realized, hold on, everybody else has a team around them to do this stuff. So this year I've been trying to get a team going, which I've already done that pretty quickly now. So I have a team in place. So we're already just looking at deals. And we're on the hunt, man. So that's my goal, get my first syndication deal. And then from there, just keep the ball rolling. So, yeah.
Nice. Now, what markets are you looking in? And then, what's your typical deal look like? Deal size and, stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. So right now we're looking in Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina. So around that area. Okay. 100 doors and under. Looking at 1980 or newer build if possible, but that's kind of hard to find. I've seen more 1970 or 60s.
Yeah.
And then just looking for 15% IRR, to kind of get that going, and just value adds, really, just a light value adds where I can go in there and raise the rents over time, lower expenses, and go from there. So that's our main targets. So right now we're looking at a deal right now in South Carolina, and we're seeing if that can go through. So yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Sounds good. Now, have you had any experience with any bad deals yet, or has everything gone pretty well for the most part, or any horror stories you want to share?
So no bad deals yet per se, but I have made a lot of mistakes, or a few mistakes rather. The first one, I bought a property out on the coast. It's a small 3-1 family. And the property is on septic, right? And well, right? As far as water.
Yeah.
And so when I bought the property, I did the inspection, right? And the individual said, hey, everything looks good so far, did the inspection, but if I was you, I would pay for another inspection just for the septic tank, right? And the well, and make sure everything's good.
And the wall flow, yeah.
And I'm like, that's probably fine. I mean, you say it's good, the water's good, it's my first one. I mean, the guy was living there before, it was not vacant.
Trying to save money on the inspection, probably, right?
I'm good. I'll be all right. Thank you for the advice, but yeah, I'll wait and do this later. So that's what I did. I bought the property and found me a tenant. I was excited. They moved in. I don't know how long it took. I don't know if it was a week or a couple of days. And I got a phone call like, hey, there's backup in the sink. The water,
only a few weeks too.
Right. The water's smelly. I'm just like, I had just done the inspection that the guy told me about, I would have saved a lot of money, right? So now I have to buy new tanks and do all this stuff. And it cost me not a whole lot, right? But it's a lot more than the inspection would have been, right? And so I learned that it's more expensive, right, to be cheap on the front end than to just do it. Yeah. So now on, man, if there's an inspection, I'm paying the money. Let's inspect everything. I'll pay for the extra one too, because I know it's better to do it that way than wait and have an issue where I'm paying more money to fix it. So,
it'd be 10 times the expense, when it comes up.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, that's funny. Now looking back now, was there anything you would do differently? Like say you go back to your 18-year-old self. Would you still go to college, get the engineer? Would you go right into real estate or what would you do, looking back?
That's a good question. So I've always had that, man, if I could just go back and just go into real estate, it would be a lot better. But I realized that's not true because of my job. I've been able to leverage my job heavily. And because I'm a high income earner, I'm able to leverage that also. And so I think going the route that I did made sense. I just wish I had known that I could leverage it sooner to be able to buy real estate, right? So I would have said, hey, go be an engineer, but also know to leverage your paycheck, your income, right? To be able to buy properties much sooner than buying a Camaro. So I think that's what I would have tweaked in there. So
yeah, good advice. Now, what would you say to the audience? What would be like everyone wants a passive income stream, maybe someone that hasn't started yet or just starting. What would be your number one recommendation for somebody to get that first stream of passive income? What would you say they should do?
yeah, so I think the first thing that you have to realize is if you want to be active or passive, right? Because not everyone is meant to be active in this business, is what I realized. And so first, you have to make the decision, hey, do I want to be active in this, looking at deals, underwriting deals, raising money, or just be a passive investor, right? So once you figure out where you want to be, you just have to dive in there and just read books, learn, and meet people who are doing this exact stuff that you want to do, right? So if you want to be passive, find the investors who are passive in this deal, in this business, and see how they're doing it, right? And learn from them, because I read a lot of books and podcasts, and I'd highly advise it, but there are a lot of things that I've learned just by talking to people and doing the actual deal per se, and they're not in the books. I've learned some stuff that I'm like, hey, I read all these books, they were not in there, right? So
exactly,
there are certain things that you have to experience it over time and meet people. And so I would say, find out if you want to be active or passive, and then go out there and meet the people who are doing exactly what you want to do and learn from them, on a daily basis. So.
Or in underwriting too, like you're saying, so you can, make a smart decision on it as well.
Right. Yep. Agreed. Yeah. And I think even if you're passive, everyone should be able to understand how to underwrite a deal. Because even if you're a passive investor, you don't want to say, hey, Andrew, here's my money. I want to invest with you $50K, but you have no idea about how the deal is working, the numbers. So you're just trusting Andrew, which is not a bad thing, right? I trust Andrew, right? But if Andrew's a bad guy or he's not trustworthy, then you get screwed, right? So you should be able to vet every deal, learn how to underwrite deals, just the basics of how it works. That way you know that your deal makes sense to invest in it.
Yeah, exactly. Now, if somebody wants to reach out to you, what's the best way to contact you? Any social media you have as well?
Yeah, so I'm heavily involved on Instagram. So it's Bernadeau_buys_multifamily. So if you go on there and find me, shoot me a DM and let's get talking. So yeah. Cool.
And you're very active on Instagram, I believe, too, right?
Yeah, I'm very active. I do videos and reels. I'm trying to teach this stuff because I realized, I didn't have anyone to teach me how this stuff works. And so I have a lot of people that I know from college or from back home that really don't understand what I'm doing. I think it's a scam. So I want to be able to teach people, how it works, how I'm doing it, how the money works and everything else. So doing it in a funny way and make people just realize, hey, this is an option for you, right? If you don't want to work, you're 62, an option is to invest in real estate either passively or actively, right? So
exactly. Awesome. Well, now we're going to get into our 5 to Thrive round. So this is our lightning round word association game. So I'm just going to rattle off, 5 words and just give me the first word or phrase that pops into your mind. The only rule is you cannot repeat your answer.
Okay.
All right. So here we go. So the first one is investing.
Investing should be something that everyone does.
Agreed. Liabilities?
Liabilities are not a good thing. You should stay away from them.
Like that Camaro was perfect. Yeah, perfect story to match that. Exactly.
Oh man, that's funny.
Success.
Success is going to happen for you if you stay consistent.
Wisdom.
Wow, wisdom. I would say wisdom is something that you have to be able to realize come from just listening to others who have done what you want to do, right?
Yep. And last one, real estate investing.
Passion. My passion. Yeah.
Love it.
That was hard, dude. Man,
I know, right? We're ready for that one.
That was tough.
It's always the best part because, it gets people thinking. I love it. So those are good answers, by the way, too. Hey, man, it's been great having you on the show. I really appreciate you taking the time and thanks for coming on.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's happy to be here. So best of luck to you. I appreciate being on here. So we'll be in touch for sure.
Absolutely. And make sure you guys come and check out the Multifamily Masters in Orlando.
That's right. Come and see us. It's going to be fun.
All right. Talk to you soon.